Welcome to Making with Marilyn. On today's video, I'm going to be making a little size 2T sweatshirt by putting some HTV or heat transfer vinyl on it in the shape of the Kansas City Chiefs logo. Now you can use a logo from your favorite sports team or anything else, but I will be using the Chiefs logo today. So for this project, I'll use my computer, I'll use my Cricut Maker. With my Maker, I'll also use my standard grit cutting mat. I'll use some white HTV that I purchased from Amazon, and I'll put a link to this in the description. I will also use some Caesar black glitter HTV. I'll use a rotary cutting tool to cut down my HTV to the right size. You could easily use scissors for that. I'll use my weeding tool to weed out the excess HTV. I will probably use a ruler to make sure that my design is centered onto my shirt. To put my HTV on my shirt, I'll use my Cricut Easy Press 2, I'll use the Cricut heat mat, and I'll use a Teflon sheet over the top of my design to protect my shirt. So let me get my computer set up so that I can show you my design and how I cut it out. I'm in Cricut Design Space and I have my image on my screen. I want to cut the left side of the image out of black glitter HTV and the right side of the image will be cut out of white HTV. I want to make two of these, and so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my black design, and then I'm going to duplicate my white design, and I want them to stay in this order when I make them. So I'm going to click the two top ones and click attach, and then select the two bottom ones and click attach. And now I'm ready to send it to my Maker. So it's going to start cutting with the white HTV, and then I can do the black HTV, or whichever one I want to do first. I can tell it to do this one first if I want to. I don't really care which one I do first, but we'll go with the black one. Now I need to mirror it. Let's go ahead and mirror that, and then I'll mirror the white while I'm here. Now I will get my vinyl onto my cutting mat. I'm going to move it down just a little bit. I'll get my vinyl onto my cutting mat, and then we'll start cutting. I've cut my heat transfer vinyl. Now you want to have your carrier sheet down and the actual vinyl that's going to stick to your shirt up. Sometimes it's hard to tell. This HTV, it's very difficult to tell which is which. So one little trick that you can do to determine which is the carrier sheet and which is the actual vinyl is you can just take your little weeding tool and you can pull on the edge. That's not doing anything. I think that's the carrier sheet. And then if I turn it over and I try to hook into it, I can. So let me show you. There's the division. So now the carrier sheet is on this side and the vinyl is on this side. So I need the carrier sheet down. I will go ahead and stick that onto my mat and get it nice and adhered to my mat, and I'm ready to send it. Move my Cricut over so you can see that. And we're doing the white first. So I'm going to click continue. It wants me to select what I'm going to be cutting. So I'm going to click on Browse All Materials, and I know that it is going to be called Iron On. Okay, so I see all these options. I'm going with Everyday Iron-On. There's nothing special about the Iron-On that I'm using. And then I'm going to click Done. Now you can see that the button to send your material is flashing. So I'll load it. Now the Cricut button is flashing, so I'll go ahead and push that. Okay, it's finished. It's telling me to unload my mat. One thing I would mention, that when I clicked the material that I was going to be cutting, it does tell you to make sure that you have the correct blade in, and I knew which blade was in. I didn't go through that. So I'm going to go ahead and unload the heat transfer vinyl. I'll tell my maker that I'm ready to cut the second layer. Now this black glitter vinyl is much more easy to tell what's the front and what's the back. So this is very shiny. The back is the actual vinyl, even though it doesn't look pretty because that's the back side of the vinyl. But this is what you need up. And then you need your carrier sheet, the shiny side, to be face down. So let me go ahead and add that onto my cutting mat. Now I actually want to cancel this cut because I want to use a different setting. So we'll cancel that, click on the black, click Continue. Now I need to find what I want to use again. So I'll browse all materials, and this time I'm going to say Glitter Iron On. Glitter can be thicker than just your basic iron on. So that's why I canceled my cut, since it was still on just basic iron on, and changed it to glitter. Now, it shows me my mirror is on, so I'm ready to load. Now I'm ready to click my Cricut button. The cut is complete, so I will unload my mat. Okay, so it's time to weed our heat transfer vinyl. Let me take this one off the mat as well. I typically fold my mat or turn my mat over and remove it from what I'm cutting. I just find that to be an easier way to do it, and it causes less buckling in whatever you're cutting. Also, I see that I have quite a bit of excess HTV. I keep a lot of scraps because there's so many things that you do out of smaller pieces. So I'm going to cut off the excess. And lay that aside. And it's time to weed. So I just poke my weeding tool under a corner and start lifting. Now most of the time I have found that HTV, or heat transfer vinyl, weeds fairly easily. So you can see that I have the black outline for the first logo. Now on the white, again, I want to cut away the excess HTV to save that. I'll go ahead and separate the two. Okay, so in this case, I'm wanting to keep the white that goes outside the letters. So I'm going to weed the letters out. Again, this HTV weeds really nicely. It is some that I bought off of Amazon. It was pretty economical for the amount that you got, and I will link to that in my description. Okay, so here's, I don't want to touch them together too much, but in essence, it's going to look like that with the red of my shirt peeking through the K and the C. So let me get my Easy Press set up, and I'll be right back. The white vinyl is my first layer. So it says to heat it at 302 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm going to turn on my Easy Press 2, click on temperature to see what the last temperature was. I used 385. So I need to go down quite a bit. I've set it to 300, so we'll let that preheat. So my heat press is heated to the right temperature. Before I do any transferring though, I want to make sure that all of the moisture is out of my shirt. So I'm going to set the Easy Press on top of my shirt for about 15 seconds. So let me set that time. Set it on, hit the button, and it starts counting down. Okay, so my shirt doesn't look quite straight. Let me get it straightened up a little bit. The other thing that I want to do, since my heat press is so large, I want to put this little block under where the design will go so that the bulk of the seams isn't interfering with my ability to get a good press. I'm going to fold this into having the two ends meet so that I can get a good idea of where the center of it is. And then my shirt's not perfect. I can either center it above the middle of that or below the center of that. I'll probably split the difference just a little bit. That would be centered on the stitching up here, but I think the pocket is a little bit more noticeable. So I'm going to place my design right there. Move my block over just a little bit. Okay, so it's very solid under it. I know that now. Now this is heat transfer vinyl that says you press it for 10 to 15 seconds at 302. So I want to change my time. I'm going to start with 8 seconds. I'm hoping that'll be enough to get it to adhere at least, because it is going to have a second pressing when I put the black on top. Cover that. Set my Cricut Easy Press 2 on top of it and press the go button. Putting firm pressure on it. Now let's see if it's stuck down at all. This is a cold peel, so I will have to wait for it to cool off quite a bit before I can lift the transfer sheet or the carrier sheet off. Now my shirt has cooled, so let me see if the transfer is sticking down at all. And it is. So I'm going to gently lift my carrier sheet off. Excellent. I can tell it's not stuck down as much as I would like it to because I didn't leave it on for the complete time, but that's okay because I have a second pressing to do with my black glitter HTV. So again, I'm going to put my little block under there. Okay. Place my black HTV on top. I think that looks good. Now, the Sizer or Caesar glitter HTV says that you press it at 320 for 15 to 20 seconds. So I'm going to change my temperature, hoping it doesn't scorch my white. So I've set it for 320. Then I'm going to use the least amount of time that it says to use, 10 seconds. I'll change the time, increase it from 8 that I used before to 10. And I'll wait for that to get up to the correct temperature. It's ready, so I'll put my Teflon sheet over my design. Place my Easy Press 2 on top and push the button. Now I'm pressing down firmly, not giving it everything that I could, but it is being pressed down firmly. The Caesar is a hot peel, so we'll go ahead and see if that's stuck down. It did. I'm going to remove that, and then, boy, that looks really good, but I want to go ahead and do it. Since you were supposed to do it for 15 to 20 seconds, I'm going to do it for 5 more seconds. So I'll change my time to 5 seconds. Press it on top and start it. Now I've noticed when I do this that as soon as I take the Easy Press off the red fabric, where it was looks a little bit discolored, but as it cools it goes back to the right color. So don't let that scare you too much. So here's my cute little shirt, and I have 2 more to make, one for another niece and one for a nephew. So I will show you a picture at the end of all 3 shirts. Thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you'd like to see what I will be working on in the future, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Marilyn.